What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Yankees Avenue Show on the Yankees Avenue YouTube channel. As usual, I'm Patrick Hennessy. That's Dan Rourke. Dan, how are we doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Pat, for a couple of reasons. One, Yankees' second straight series victory in a row. One of my more enjoyable games that we got to see on Sunday, especially that eighth inning. That was electric. But also for the reason of I witnessed, not in person, but virtually, arguably the greatest first pitch of all time. Pat, how did that feel? It feel good coming out of the hand? It looked good. You looked confident
So,
up there.
yeah, some are saying it's the greatest first pitch of all time. Some are saying it's the worst first pitch of all time. I, however, am disappointed in myself. I think it was a little bit high, a little bit outside. And dude, my practice pitches were a lot better. But let me tell you, even though like Double A Somerset Patriots, smaller stadium, I was a little bit nervous, dude.
Yeah.
I kind of blacked out a little bit. Like once I was walking off the field, I was like, yo, that just happened. Like, and in the moment, I didn't think at all. I just threw ball.
Now I have to ask, because you were wearing a pretty nice Somerset Patriot jersey with no name on the back, no player whatsoever, just a blank jersey.
Yeah.
Was that gifted to you by the Patriots, or did you purchase that
Yes.
yourself? So they gave you a jersey.
Yes. Huge shout out to the Somerset Patriots. They were so hospitable. They hooked me up big time.
I was going to
Major
say if
shout
they
out.
didn't, that'd be a major problem. So I'm glad we got that ironed out.
And guess what? The first pitch ball signed by Sparky Lyle. Major
You're
W.
kidding.
Major W.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Met
Huh.
Sparky Lyle too. Great guy. Great guy.
Was that Rodon
Um,
Day? Were you there on Rodon Day?
no, no, day before. Day before.
Oh, he's a
But
good one.
yo, how was your weekend, Dan? Great.
Weekend? Shit, I don't even know. Weekend. What did I do this weekend? I don't know. Watch the Yankees take 2 out of 3. That's what I did. It was good. Was yours
Yeah,
good?
we have a lot to talk about from the Yankees this weekend at least. Before we get into that, though, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, FOCO. Use code Yankees Avenue, save 15% off your purchase. We'll show you guys a little bit more in depth what we got going on FOCO wise, but
Yeah, we
save that
will.
till the middle of the show. But yo, topic number one, Dan, the Yankees, like we mentioned, they stole a series from the first place Texas Rangers this weekend in the Bronx. Great win on Sunday, but I guess the bigger news coming out of the weekend is the fact that Aaron Judge news came out about him that he has a torn ligament in his big toe. We originally thought that it was a sprain, so now we're probably looking at him being out a little bit longer than we originally thought. So now with the assumption that he's going to be out until August at the very least, some are saying, yo, he's out for the season. I'm not going that far yet. What's your outlook for the New York Yankees until Aaron Judge comes back?
Yeah. So first of all, when this broke the other day, I was initially had a lot more panic than I did after the fact because this isn't news to Judge. This isn't news to the Yankees. And most people that have like some grasp of medical understanding, not saying I do, but this is what I read, this is what I understand. A sprain and a tear are basically essentially the same thing. The bad side of this, though, is that Judge still has pain while walking. That, of course, isn't good. And yeah, I am recalibrating my expectation of his return to, when I was being optimistic, it was 4th of July. That's not happening. Best case scenario now is probably like last week in July, maybe. If not, yeah, probably August. I'll say this, though. I'm not down about it. I'm not upset about it because the Yankees simply have to stay afloat until then. They have to play 500 baseball. And while they have one of the worst offenses in the league right now, they rank towards, the bottom of like, I think they're 25 to 30 in like OBP, OPS, slugging, all the important stats. They rank towards the bottom of the league. That's not good. However, though, their pitching is so elite, so great that it keeps them in every single game. And while many of the hitters are still struggling, a lot of like the big name stars, Stanton, DJ, Rizzo, throw Donaldson in there too if you want. While they're struggling, they have enough of a track record to where I can feel confident they might be able to run into a couple home runs or just score runs, scrape together 3 or 4 runs, because it seems that's kind of all you need right now with the way the Yankees are pitching. Everybody mentions how bad the offense is, but anytime they throw that in there, or anytime they say that, they throw away the fact that they arguably have the best pitching staff in the league. I mean, like that's half the team right there. Like it's not like, oh, the Yankees can't hit, so that's it. That's a season. They're screwed. Like, no, on the flip side, on the pitching end of things, we rank towards the top of the league, if not the best. So that being the case, get by 500 for the next month and a half. You get Judge back. Even if you're like 1 or 2 games out of the wild card race, you're going to be in it. And you have 2 months to figure things out. I think the Yankees said this many times. They're a lock for the playoffs. Division, that's kind of sailed off, in my opinion. I'm not like rooting for that anymore. But the Yankees absolutely still have enough, even with so many hitters struggling, to stay in it, bro, and be fine when Judge comes back. That's my take.
Yeah. And I think it's a very optimistic point of view, right? And I think if you want to focus on the Yankees' strong points at this point, like, yeah, their bullpen is still top tier. Their rotation can only get better with the impending return of Carlos Rodon whenever Nestor comes back. And Sevy hopefully returning to form after a pretty good start this weekend. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be happy about pitching wise, but I think offensively, I'm still worried about this team moving forward. And it's also difficult. I mean, we'll talk about this a little later in the show too, but it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of pieces available at the deadline to improve the offense. So it looks like moving forward, especially until Aaron Judge comes back, the Yankees are going to be relying heavily on guys that should be performing better that necessarily haven't so far, right? Like they're going to be relying on guys like Giancarlo Stanton, Anthony Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres. Like these are going to have to be the guys that step up in Judge's absence that we haven't necessarily seen too much of so far, right? And yeah, so I just think that unless the Yankees make seriously drastic moves to improve the offense at the deadline and their pitching can stay healthy for the rest of the year, I don't have a very optimistic outlook when it comes to their postseason chances this year. Like, am I confident that they could get in? Sure. As a wild card team, yeah. But am I confident that they'll even like make it past the wild card series? Not necessarily. But if you want to take the Yankees philosophy where the postseason is basically a crapshoot and get in and see whatever happens, happens, sure. But yeah, I'm just not too confident in them surpassing what they did last year in the postseason.
I think that's completely fair right now. And I'm not either. I'm strictly speaking on just the next month and a half until Aaron Judge comes back, just them staying afloat. He returns, you're in the race, you get in, and then hopefully by that point, entering October, everybody's healthy. Same old story every year. I understand, but this is what we got to do. Everybody's healthy, then you make an acquisition or two at the deadline. Now, we are starting to hopefully see DJ LeMahieu wake up a little bit on Sunday's game. He, of course, had the 2-run double. He also flew out later in the game, but it was also to the opposite field. His swings looked a little more 2019 DJ-like. I understand it's just one game, but little positive signs like that I can take home with me and be like, all right, that's a good sign. Giancarlo Stanton, 2 strikeouts before his final at-bat, but he did have that RBI single, which was a big run. Yankees had the 4-3 lead after Bader's 2-run double, and then Stanton drove in the insurance run. After the game, he did his typical Stanton stuff. You see his interview, his how to handle New York 101. They were like, do you think this is you turning the corner? And he was like, no, there's still a lot more work to be done. And then somebody's teed him up for they were like, well, what do you think are the reasons why, like, maybe you haven't been, it hasn't clicked in for you yet? Like in a nice way, like not kind of going at him, but just like trying to set him up for an excuse. And he goes, anything I say to you right now would be an excuse. And I'm not going to do that. So typical Stanton stuff. But anyways, hopefully, yeah, you get him going. Anthony Volpe, since his stance tweak against the Mets, which was June 13th, since then, 378 OBP, 143 OPS plus, 143 OPS plus. It's not ideal. I'm not saying this offense is by any means good enough to win in the playoffs. I'm not even saying it's definitely good enough to win right now, but you at least have a chance with how good this pitching staff is. And last thing I'll say is, for all like the doomsday talk and like everybody's saying the season's over, all this, 43-35, man. I mean, that's actually the 4th best record in the American League. I just feel like you would think we're 8 below 500 rather than 8 above with the vibes surrounding this team. I understand it's not ideal, but considering all the shit they've gone through, a lot of shit. And by no means am I like complimenting Brian Cashman and the Yankees for the roster. We shouldn't be in this situation. But with that said, it's not like the season's over. Like we still have plenty of chance. We're in a playoff spot right now, and we don't have Aaron Judge. We've been without him like for 3 weeks. The fact that we just won 2 series in a row, like I'm feeling fine about our spot right now. I really am. Honest to God.
Yeah,
I
think it's fair.
Fine.
I think it's fair. It's just I don't know. It's even coming off of that win on Sunday, like it's just difficult for me to like look at this Yankees team and be like, yes, I'm so confident in this team moving forward. It's just difficult for me to do so. Now, if they start like doing this consistently now, like especially that their schedule's like looking pretty light for this next month or so until the end of July.
Yeah.
If they're able to put together some sort of like consistent win streak, like bro, let's say over their next 24 games, they go, I don't know, 17-7. I'm reeled back in, dude. And I'm like fully on board with, yo, this is a World Series team.
Yeah, I mean, looking at their matchups, Talking Yanks tweeted it out, but for the Yankees' next 8 opponents are last place teams. 6 of the 8 are below 500. None of them are in first place. So we got the A's coming up starting on Tuesday. You got the A's, the Cardinals, who of course have been terrible this year. Orioles, we know they're a good team now. Cubs, under 500. Rockies, under 500. Angels having a good year, but it's like an Angels good. They're not, they're beatable, very beatable. And then the Royals, and then the Mets. So, I mean, the Yankees, if there's a stretch you want to have without your best player, it's this one. 17-7, I mean, that would be an absolute, I don't want to say a miracle, but that would be like the biggest W of all time.
That would be a miracle.
I'm strictly just saying, I mean, based on the schedule, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but we're not going to have like an exciting brand of Yankee baseball for the most part over the next month. I'm simply just looking to get by. and being 8 games over 500 right now, if you can play 500, so what was it? You said 25 game stretch or whatever, 24 game stretch.
24,
Like, yeah, you just go 12
12
and
and 12.
12 until then, or
I think
whenever
that would be
Judge
a
comes back.
failure.
I don't. I mean, it wouldn't be ideal. Is it going to be fun to watch? No, but all I'm saying is if you get Judge back 8 games above 500 with 2 months left to play, say what you will about the roster's poorly constructed, which it 100% is. When the Yankees have Aaron Judge, they win. At least when it comes to the regular season. We saw it this year. They were 31 and 19 with him. Without him, they're like, I think 11 and 16 or something like that. When they have him in the regular season, they win. You give me 2 months with Aaron Judge, we're making the playoffs.
At this
Not something to
point,
be happy about. Like, that's not like I'm not fucking tooting anybody's horn over that. But in terms of that worry, the playoffs, I think we'll have another kick at the can this year.
yeah, which you could argue better for worse because like I know a lot of people are kind of like, yo, if the Yankees miss the playoffs, like then we might see some real changes. But regardless, I guess we'll see how this next month and a half goes until.
I just want to say real quick, I want to get your thoughts on that. I get the logic behind it, especially when people tweet it out like right after a miserable loss and they're just feeling very emotional. I get that. But could you ever truly root for that though? Like Tuesday night, you turn on Yankees A's 940. Like you're gonna sit down and hope they lose.
No, but I think if it comes to a certain situation, like I'll never forget like 2016 before the trade deadline, I was kind of hoping that the Yankees kept losing at that point because I really wanted to see them sell off at the deadline. And it ended up being something that was great for them. So in
Totally
certain
different
situations,
teams
like
though.
yeah, no, different situation. But I'm saying that's kind of why I'm saying it really depends on the situation. Like let's say I don't know, I can't really think of a situation this season where it would happen. You just have to wait for the time and place. But I do think that there can be a time and a place to root for your team to lose.
Sure, yeah. Last thing I'll say on it too is that there's nobody that really scares me in baseball this year. I mean, there's no clear threat. Even the Rays, who probably is our biggest challenge, sure, they're not. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries too on their pitching staff. They're good
We
at
kind of said
home.
that
On the
last
road,
year,
they're
though.
somewhat around 500. Well, no, I mean, I think it was still only reason I'm saying that now is because the Astros for the first time seem vulnerable. I mean, the last 6 years has always been Houston, and it probably is this year too. I mean, they've done enough winning to where you give them the benefit of the doubt. They'll probably be there in October. If I had a World Series pick right now, that's not the Yankees. I always would pick the Yankees. It would probably still be Houston because they'll probably get in, and that's one of those teams I'm sure that'll just click and they'll at least go to the World Series, something like that. But with that said, they don't scare me this year. There's no team that's at the clear-cut favorite. It seems kind of like everybody's got a fair shot to get in, get healthy, make a couple acquisitions. Same story every year, though. So I
Yeah,
understand the frustration with this conversation.
we'll see. But going in topic number 2 now, Dan, let's talk about Josh Donaldson a little bit because in the last episode, we kind of touched on how we thought that Donaldson is all but DFA'd at this point.
Yep.
Doesn't really seem like that's going to be the case. I think he might linger for longer than I think he would, than we originally thought that he would. But the big story that came out of the weekend was there was kind of what do we even want to call it? Like a kerfuffle
It
with
was weird.
yeah,
So
with
let me
Donaldson in
just
the
run through
clubhouse.
the sequence real quick. So it
Do it,
was get a
yeah.
report that one, Josh Donaldson is in the Yankee clubhouse. He won't speak to the media. As he says he won't speak to the media, he's on his way to Aaron Boone's office. He goes into Aaron Boone's office, who Aaron Boone, he's scheduled to speak at, I think it was like 11:30 or something. Donaldson goes in there. They're in there for about 30 minutes talking. Boone's late to his presser. He comes out, says everything's all good, but also we're going to hear that Donaldson is going to speak after the game. We don't see him at all in the dugout. At least so reports say that Donaldson was in the dugout. So there was some speculation like, yo, we better get like an A-Rod, like I'm announcing my retirement. Yankees are releasing me type situation. That quickly got like pushed down when you hear Boone saying, oh, he's going to play a lot. You know, we still believe in him, which that in itself, that doesn't really mean much to me. I mean, of course, it means he's going to be around for at least a foreseeable future. But if you're on the Yankees roster, they're going to talk highly of you, especially Aaron Boone. That's just the way that it is. So I don't understand a lot of people getting all up in arms about that. But I disagree, actually, though. I still am going to sit on, at the very least, by like August 1st, he's gone. I think it may even be over the next couple weeks, maybe even before the All-Star break, because this dude seems so checked out. I'm not sure if you saw the interview afterwards that he did do with the media. One, just the attitude he was giving to people. He seemed like a guy like that was defeated. Being a baseball fan, you know, I've been watching for about 10 years now, 10, 11, 12 years. I've seen a few athletes that like you can just tell are done, whether it's Joey Gallo last year in New York, that you just knew he was already had his set sight, like his set sight on sight set. Is that the word?
That
On
is, yeah.
LA, or even Aaron Hicks towards the end. You can kind of tell he's on his way out. Donaldson with the play, with the defense even faltering now. The talk of, I don't even know if I'm going to play next year. We'll see how my body handles it. Being benched 3 days in a row, this little media riff. It just seems it's coming to an end, and I think it's going to be within the next 3 weeks or so.
Yeah, it's such a complicated situation at this point. I mean, kind of just looking at what Donaldson said, and he kind of said that his conversation with Boone was much of nothing. He said that everyone kind of blew it out of proportions. He said that they were exchanging personal stories, bro. And this is kind of where I get ticked off, right? Because I feel like at some points, like the Yankees, Aaron Boone, management, they think that fans are stupid. And the fact that Josh Donaldson has the nerve to be like, oh, we were telling personal stories, that bothers me because, like, bro, we're not dumb, right? And if you just want to say, like, oh, we were having a conversation, but to kind of expand it so much to be like, oh, we're just goofing around having fun. We know that's not the case. Whatever it was, who knows? Maybe Donaldson was complaining about demanding a trade, and the Yankees are like, "Oh, we can't trade you." Then he's like, "Oh, then I'll retire." Like, who knows what the hell was going on? But I think it was also weird how Donaldson spoke to the media after the game too. I know a lot of people thought he was going to like announce his retirement, whatever. All I know is that yes, something here feels super off. And while I really want Donaldson off this team at this point, because it kind of just feels like a big
It's a
it's like
distraction
a
almost at this point.
it's a major distraction at this point. But also at the same time, I'm looking at it like, yo, Donaldson leaves, the fans are just gonna find another player to make public enemy number one. Because every year we have like two or three,
Dude,
right?
who
Before
though?
Donald,
Who's left? I mean,
I guess we'll see. Maybe, bro, maybe DJ. Who knows? Like, because Yankee fans will always have to find that public enemy number one. And right now, like, bro, Donaldson's just eating up all that energy. So I guess we'll see. But let me ask you a question. August 1st, 2023. Is Josh Donaldson a New York Yankee? Yes or no?
no. I'd bet my mom's life on it. I shouldn't
That's
say that, but
yeah, you should.
to show you how serious I am about that take, I'm gonna theoretically bet my mom's life on it. Yes, 1,000%. He's gone.
I'm gonna say yes. I think he's still here.
Really?
Yeah.
August 15th. Playoff roster. Is he gonna be on the playoff roster?
He's not gonna be it's gonna be a Chapman situation. I think he's gonna linger all season, but he's not gonna be on the playoff roster.
See, that's the vibes I got from this. I almost feel like, I mean, you mentioned the whole trade situation. Like, I think similar vibes of Donaldson threatening to just walk away and leave.
Yes.
Especially bringing up personal stories. I mean, to me, that's the only slight insight we did get, because when personal stories are brought up, that usually means like some sort of emotional conversation is being had.
Yeah.
And it bothered me too how he was almost talking to reporters, like belittling them in a way. Like, there was just a way, his tone of voice, the way he was looking
But
down,
that's what I
like,
get
asking
from
stupid
like
questions. It was dumb.
but
I didn't like it. It
bro,
was,
that's what I get from Boone and Cashman and how like I just get like a belittling feeling like whenever we hear from any of these guys. And it's annoying after a while. Cause like especially with the injuries and everything, bro. Like they knew Aaron Judge's toe was torn when it first happened. And the fact that we're just hearing about it now is psychotic.
I guess, but that doesn't make that much of a difference to me though, because it came up in the Judge case. He was just talking to media about it, and he mentioned that it was torn. It's not like it was some great big reveal that he just found out. A
No,
sprain
it
is a
does because
tear,
then you have a better idea of the timeline though.
sure, but we also have no idea. Like, that's the thing, and it's annoying. I'm not saying you're wrong for this, but in terms of the way it affects me, did the Yankees, whether they're not totally honest or us just not finding out totally about the injury until say this weekend, does that actually affect when Aaron Judge comes back? And because the answer is no, in the end, I'm just like perturbed by it. I don't really like, I don't care about anything but Aaron Judge coming back. So regardless of what they tell us, when he's healthy, that's when he'll return. So
Sure.
to me, that's kind of like the only thing that in the end, like, there's a lot of it's like semantics or semantics. You called me out once for how I use that word, and I've been thinking anytime I
Because I don't
say
know
it,
I don't know the
even
true saying of it either.
all right, in the comments, let us know, because I'll be like typing out
I think
using it
it's
on Twitter,
semantics.
and I'll hear you in the back of my head like it's semantics or scumantics. I forget the way you say
No,
it.
I think it's semantics.
That's a lot of the Yankees issues revolves around semantics or semantics. I understand why it bothers people. It doesn't bother me.
Okay, fair enough. Yo, before we get to topic number three, want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, FOCO. They have the best Yankees merchandise in the world. They have the best merchandise in the world for every single damn team out there. Code Yankees Avenue, check out, save 15% off your order. Bro, and they just dropped these brand new team branded overalls. Dan, I
What
think
do
they
you
look
guys
good.
think? What do you guys think? I think we look phenomenal. Next barbecue, I'll do a little, what I'm saying? Look at that, bro. You ever see Angry Grandpa? I almost fell down. You ever see Angry
Yes.
Grandpa? This is like
Yeah,
Angry
you're twin.
Grandpa vibes almost. You got the overalls going. I think they look good. Next barbecue, I'll probably be wearing it. More sane people
I
might
might wear these to the
they
stadium,
might
bro.
throw an undershirt onto this. More like sane people probably, but yeah, it's comfy. It's a look, and they don't just got this. They got a bunch of other stuff as well. So use code Yankees Avenue for 15% off at FOCO. Link is in the description. They got much more than just this. So if this ain't exactly your vibe, it sure is mine. You can find something for yourself. So
It's mine as well. But yeah, shout out to Foco. Topic number 3, Dan. Clarke Schmidt. Got to talk about Clarke Schmidt a little bit. Just because over his last 6 starts, he's a 1.97 ERA. And he's kind of shut everybody up, right? Because through his first whatever starts of the season, he looked absolutely horrible. I think me and you included, we were like, yo, this dude's not a starting pitcher. I don't know why the Yankees keep throwing him out as a starting pitcher, but he seemed to figure it out over his last 6 starts, sub 2 ERA. I mean, you can't really complain about that. And now with Domingo Germán struggling a little bit, I guess now the question can be asked in a postseason situation, assuming that the Yankees starting rotation is healthy, right? You're looking at Cole, Rodon, Nestor, Sevi, and then like let's say you need an additional starting pitcher. Are you going with Domingo Germán or Clarke Schmidt?
all right, so I'll give my answer in just a second. I do want to read off this stat, which is pretty interesting, courtesy of Katie Sharp. So yeah, he has a 197 over his last 6 starts. He's the first pitcher in Yankees history to have a 6-start span with a sub 2 ERA, and the team lost all 6 games. That to me is just absolutely insane. First pitcher in Yankees history to have that happen. Nuts. Clarke, you've been great though. Shout out to you. But no, not yet. Not for me. Domingo Germán is who I'm taking to get the playoff nod over Clarke. And it's nothing against Clarke. It's just more so I'm not going to let a 2-start span like totally make me forget about how good Domingo Germán has been this year. I mean, for a majority of these shows, Pat, we were talking about a pitcher who, next to Garrett Cole, was the most trustworthy starter on the staff. Domingo Germán, 3.49 ERA, 0.99 WHIP entering that Fenway start 2 weeks ago. And I mentioned it last episode. I'll say it again. He just lost the curveball. Like that is as if I forgot words to like an Elvis song or something. It may slip out real quick, but then it just comes back instantly and you're back where you were, right? Domingo Germán's curveball is his A pitch. There's no way out of nowhere he just forgot how to throw it. So assuming that comes back, like that's the Domingo Germán that we've been seeing majority of the year. And that Domingo Germán is a pretty damn good pitcher who's capable of every time out throwing a no-hitter. Honestly, that might be a little bit dramatic, but no-hit type stuff. And I'm not going to let 2 starts forget about that. So for now, I'm still taking
Michael
Germán.
Pineda vibes.
Yeah, but also a little bit more consistent. You know, I posted it today, something to do with the Yankee rotation that got people commenting like, oh, give me Clarke over Germán any day of the week. And I understand that argument. Like Clarke's definitely been, and not even just the last 6. I mean, Clarke's overall season stats now are starting to look a little bit better. Like the ERA total like on the year is down to 4.32. So like his overall numbers, like his season ERA is better than Germán's now. Germán's has shot up to over a 5. But
yeah,
Clarke has a role. Just for me, if I had to pick tomorrow, like you need a 5th starter, I'm going Germán still.
I think if you're saying you have to pick tomorrow, I think I'm probably going Clarke just because for me, the way I'm looking at it is if the postseason starts tomorrow, I'm riding with the hot hand, right? And if Domingo's sucking in his last couple starts and Clarke is red hot, I think I'm kind of viewing them both in the same breath where it's like, yo, what have you done for me recently? And let's say they continue to trend in these directions moving forward, right? Like, let's say for the rest of the season, Clarke is still like on an upward trajectory and Domingo's still on like a plateau or like downward trajectory. I think you have to go with Clarke. So I think it's really difficult right now because I think that they're both pretty similar in the sense of their ceilings. Maybe Domingo's ceiling's a little bit higher, but I also think that his floor could potentially be. I think their floor might be the same, actually. But that's why I'm saying in a postseason scenario, let's say you had to call on one of these 2 guys. I really think that you have to take recency bias into account heavily.
Damn you. You kind of make me change my answer because I did say tomorrow, give me the option. I'm going Germán. Yeah. But that's true. Like you do go for recency bias. I guess more so long term, I'm still expecting that Germán will be the type of pitcher that you would choose over Clarke. Depending on how good the bullpen looks, that would be my decisive factor. Say next week, say Friday. Friday's the Yankees' first playoff game or a playoff game you decide this decision between these 2. Depending on if Germán has his curveball in his bullpen, that's what will decide it for me. But that's a fair take by you, Pat, and I think you might be right, unfortunately.
Thank you, Dan.
I hate when that happens.
Happens pretty often.
That's pretty rare. That's why I'm so thrown off right now.
But yeah, topic number 4, Dan. There was an article that came out on Bleacher Report the other day, kind of previewing 5 potential trades the Yankees can make at the deadline. There was a few of them. I'll run through them real quick. Paul DeJong and Alec Burleson from the Cardinals. Another one had Heimer Candelario and Lane Thomas from the Nationals. Cody Bellinger and Drew Smyly from the Cubs. Shane Bieber and Ahmed Rosario from the Guardians. And the last one was Tim Anderson and Giolito from the White Sox. Listen, obviously these are all hypothetical trade scenarios. It's kind of just like on Twitter where people are kind of throwing out screenshots of their trade calculators and being like, oh, the Yankees should do this. I would say let's say we had to pick one of these deals to get done.
Yeah.
The one that was most intriguing to me was Bieber and Ahmed Rosario from the Guardians.
Okay.
The only thing that threw me off about that deal was the fact that they were sending over Dominguez and Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones was a name that was thrown around a lot in all of these trades, and I hate to say it, and I hate saying this with prospects. Spencer Jones is like borderline untouchable for me. Just because, bro, based on last episode, the way we were gassing this dude up, I think that trading him now, especially before his value even hits what I think it's going to be, would be a massive, massive mistake for the New York Yankees. So, let's say like his value grows a little bit over this next couple of years, and you could really make a serious deal and including him, then maybe. But I just don't think his value's there right now in order to pull the trigger. But overall, I think all these deals involve the Yankees giving up way too much. But I think if there was a duo you could potentially trade for out of all these, I think I'd prefer to go the Bieber Rosario route.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely fair. I was because the returns were so bad. I was kind of just looking at what we get rather than what we give up. Because, dude,
Yep.
literally, like in my notes here and things, I make sure that I point out. I had in caps no Spencer Jones. None of these deals are worth giving him up. Majority of them aren't worth giving up Dominguez either, for that matter. The Bieber and Rosario deal. I mean, here's the thing. Nothing against Shane Bieber, maybe a little bit. I always consider him to be like a fake ace. Obviously, good stats, good numbers, and he's a very good pitcher. But do I put him up there with like a Garrett Cole or a Carlos Rodon? Is he a dog? I don't really think so. He's a nice pitcher. Ahmed Rosario, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's having a rough season. I mean, yeah, 255 average, OBP sitting right exactly at 300, only a 339 slugging. And what's he doing? Is he playing short? I still don't think Volpe's going anywhere. I don't want him to go anywhere. Maybe put him at third base. That's now a hole that some people are mentioning. Like, we always say Yankees got to get a left fielder. Well, with how much Donaldson obviously has struggled, DJ too, is third base a position that you go after. And with that said, to me, the most appealing was the trade with the Nationals. Is it Heimer or Jimer? Heimer, Candelario, and Lane Thomas from the Nationals. Now, I said I'm ignoring the return. If you guys want to know what it is, they have the Nationals getting Spencer Jones and Richard Fitz, who's a right-handed pitcher. Ignore that return. I'm not giving up Spencer Jones. There's another deal that you can make this work out. But anyways, Candelario, he's the first one that really interests me. And he is a third baseman who his defense is, let me make sure I'm right on this. His defense is, yeah, it's solid. This year, outs above average, he has +7. Defensive runs saved, he has 4. But offensively, man, boy, would he be a boost. Now, he is a right-handed bat. He's 29 years old with just this year control. So he's a free agent after this season. But anyways, 73 games this year for the Nats. He's batting 261, 338 OBP, which a 338 OBP may not sound that crazy high, but on the 2023 Yankees, it'd be like prime DJ LeMahieu shit. 117 WRC plus, 471 slugging, already a 2.4 WAR. This dude's a nice player. Nice player. Sucks he's not left-handed, which is like a main thing I'd want to add. But you mentioned it earlier in the show, like we're gonna find pickings this deadline, man. Like Brian Cashman's really gonna have to like go few and far between and find out like what guys really fit this roster because there's so many teams contending that like a lot of the players who initially thought that were going to be available aren't going to be available. So you may have to, like, majority of people may not even have heard of Heimer Candelario. I mean, honestly, until this year, I don't think I really did myself.
No, you did.
I don't know, dude. I
He was
mean,
on the Tigers for a while. He was a top prospect with the Cubs.
okay, I shouldn't say heard. Definitely I did, but was he in like my registry as a player I might want at the deadline this year? No. All of a sudden, though, I definitely wouldn't mind getting him. And that was a player I like before seeing this article I've been thinking of, saw other people mentioned as well. Lane Thomas, he's a nice piece as well. Now, with him, you'd have him under control through the 2025 season. So you're getting him for this year, 2 more years after that. 27 years old, another right-handed bat, but he does play the outfield, a little bit below average defensively. That's not good, of course, especially knowing the Yankees already have that issue right now with poor defensive outfielders. But offensively, he's been good. 127 OPS plus, 295 average, 13 homers, 344 on base, 503 slugging. So at least from an offensive standpoint, like you get these guys while they're both right-handed, you're improving your offense.
Well,
so
I'm pretty sure Candelario's switch hitter. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he is.
Oh, Pat, that changes everything. That changes everything. Yes, because I'm looking at Fangraphs, and it always bothers me when under the switch hitter label they don't put S, they put a B instead of it being like S for switch hitter. It's a B/R, which means both slash right. But yes, okay, that changes things. Not really because I wanted him anyways, but that makes me more excited about it. To me, yeah, it's a no-brainer. This is the deal I would go with.
Let me just say, like, my reasoning as to why I wouldn't pick that one, just because it feels like the same type of move that the Yankees have made for so long now, where it's kind of like it feels like bargain bin, right? Like, there's no way you can sit here and tell me that Lane Thomas is a guy like that's going to be putting up a plus 800 OPS on a consistent basis. You know what I mean? And it's also just the fact where it's like you're kind of like taking a risk on these guys that they're going to keep up the performance, the good performance that they've put up with the Nationals this year and bring that to New York.
Fair.
I don't know. You would have to look at the more advanced stats to see if like this is something that seems sustainable for these guys. But I don't know, bro. And also like the name power doesn't really do it for me, right? Like you acquire Candelario and Lane Thomas at the deadline, or you acquire Cody Bellinger at the deadline. It does two totally different things for me mentally. It just does.
No, totally. The problem is, I mean, Ben Bellinger sure is a name, but I mean, outside of him and even with him, like there's not many names at the deadline
I
that
want
are going to be able to
Bellinger,
go out. I mean, here's the thing with Bellinger though. It's like the only thing that really entices me about him is the fact that yeah, he's a name, but I mean,
and he's left-handed.
so no, that's definitely nice, but so much talk about him having like a bounce back year. I mean, he has a 104 OPS plus. He was been barely above league average. His K rate is down, so I mean that's kind of nice. But overall, I mean a 319 OBP, 7 homers. He doesn't really wow me either. And as for Candelario, I think Lane Thomas, you have a point because this is kind of an out of nowhere year. Prior to this, he hasn't really done much offensively, but at least with Candelario, he has some sort of a track record. You know, in 2021, he did have he had 42 doubles in 2021 with 16 homers, was a 120 OPS plus guy. Has had a couple seasons with a WAR north of 2, 1/3. I mean, he's definitely not a name, so I get you from that standpoint, but I think that's what we're headed for this year at the deadline, dude. Like, who else besides who we might talk about in topic number 5?
Yeah, I have
Like,
no idea. But speaking of that, let's get into topic number 5.
oh yeah,
The Padres continue to kind of plummet, Dan, and I feel like we could talk about them real quick because, dude, if they sell off at the deadline for whatever reason, they have a lot of names that the Yankees could potentially make a move after. They're currently 6.5 games back, but playoff spot, 4 games under 500. And I guess now that we're looking at San Diego, I can't really see them being a seller at the deadline just because at the end of the day, like they have a roster that is capable of winning a World Series, like if they're all playing to their best ability. They're not though. But I do think the Padres are going to be buyers this deadline and try to improve their team. But let's say they do sell off. Um, who do you think could be like a potential grab from the Padres that the Yankees could maybe go after? Would it be a Juan Soto? Would it be Josh Hader? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, Hater that you mentioned, that's pretty nice too. But dude, Soto's obviously what gets me interested here, and what has me somewhat thinking this might be realistic is that we hear a lot that the Padres' financial situation is messed up. He doesn't spend the owner of the Padres, name is slipping my mind, but he doesn't really spend the team's revenue and income to put it towards the roster. He just spends from like his hedge fund or whatever it is, like the money he has in his pocket. Basically, they're outspending what they're making. And apparently they're in a shitty financial spot and they're giving out so many big deals. And we saw they did in the offseason. We also saw them extend Manny Machado just recently as well. Juan Soto, he's a free agent after next season. Most people in the industry suspect that the Padres just aren't able to sign him long term. So let's just assume for a second that's not going to happen. Yeah, they're 4 games under 500, like 7 out of a playoff spot. They're not going to win the NL West. That's loaded. The National League, technically, I don't want to say is loaded, but there's a lot of competitors in there because it's so not good that everybody's in the race, kind of. But they're far down. I don't want to get my hopes up, but if they were to trade Juan Soto or put him on the market, we have prospects that could get it done. Dominguez, to me, easy include. That's a rare deal why I would include Spencer Jones. Oswald Peraza, sure, take him. Any pitcher you want, take him. I mean, Juan Soto is the one name, going back to what we were just talking about, that is a name that might be feasible or possible this deadline. Not predicting
Yeah.
it, but like, if the Padres were to sell, I mean, he's the guy because you're not going to trade off. I mean, everybody else is signed so long, right? I mean, you got Bogarts there for a long time. You got Machado there for a long time. I mean, maybe there's some starting pitchers they could sell off too, but yeah, I mean, I'm not getting myself hyped up about Soto just yet because, dude, they're like a one good week away from just being right back into things, so it's a little bit too early. But assuming they are still in the spot a month from now, you could dream.
Yeah. Bro, if the Padres for whatever reason do sell off and Soto is available, the Yankees should do everything in their power to acquire him. And I know that the Yankees are a big fan of Soto. They obviously tried to get him last year when the
Yeah,
Nationals dealt him at
they
the
offered
deadline. They
Dominguez.
just yeah, the Nationals just weren't a huge fan of what the Yankees had to offer, but maybe the Padres would be, right? And that's why I would look at it as every single player is available. And I know that we said like Dominguez, Spencer Jones, bro, hell, even Volpe. I am putting every single person on the table that the Padres could possibly want because Juan Soto is a team-changing player, especially in Yankee Stadium, bro. We're looking at a guy who any of these prospects that people would say, oh, I wouldn't give them up for Soto, we would be blessed if any of those guys became half of what Soto currently is. So I think any day of the week I'm trading a top prospect for a solidified star, and I think no one kind of screams that more than Juan Soto.
Yeah, yeah. Once again, I'm not gonna get
Same
my
with
too much, but
there's very few players I'll say that about. Like Juan Soto's one of them. Otani's another. If you can deal for Otani the deadline, which you won't be able to because Angels are in a playoff spot,
yeah,
I would give literally anybody up. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens as far as that goes.
yeah. No, once again, it's a little bit too early for me to get like totally invested in this, but it's a thought. It definitely is a thought, and if that were something that could become fucking true, I mean, then all of a sudden we're talking about an entirely different Yankee season. I mean, talk about winning the fans back because Hal would have to take on a little bit of payroll. Brian Cashman would have to eat some prospects. We know he wouldn't like doing it, but
I just don't see it happening. Just because it's like I said, the Padres seem like they're a really good team. That's just for whatever reason they're not good this year.
That's why
I can't see them like selling off.
But I'll say if they do sell, then I wouldn't put past the Yankees to go out and get them because they're one of the few teams that has a prospect capital to do it. But yeah, that's to do with this episode. Good one today. We got the overalls on, looking good, feeling good. So we got Oakland coming up, dude. Another West Coast trip, kind of. We have 2 9:00 games. Yeah, 2 9:00 games, Tuesday and Wednesday. Then I believe a 3 o'clock on Thursday. Then we go to St. Louis, which I have no like excitement towards the St. Louis series. I don't like that stadium now after last summer.
No, I know.
It seemed like that's where the vibes really went to shit. And the idea of being in that place
Frankie Montas
coincides with misery. Yeah, everything about it. Isn't that where Clarke went down in Seattle? But that seemed to me like that's the first time I truly tasted negative vibes for the 2022 Yankees, and still lingering in my head. But yo, socials, where can they find you, Pat?
TikTok and Twitter at Unhinged Patrick, Instagram at True Hennessy.
Yankees Avenue on Instagram, Yankees Avenue on here, YouTube. Subscribe if you are new. Dan on Rourke on Twitter, Dan on Rourke on Instagram. That'll do it for this one, yo. We'll be back after the A series, so see you guys Friday.
After a sweep.
Yeah, it has to be a sweep. Like these are series you have to sweep, 100%. Yeah. Cardinals too, not necessarily. Like I say, sweep the A's, 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals. We're golden for this week. Let's do it. All right, yo. See you guys next time. Let's go Yankees.
Her body's going like September. She burns through the night like an ember. And all those things we try forgetting, I remember. But we say we all fine, we all fine.